Buddha had once said, three things cannot be hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the truth. We know that secrets destroy lives, and yet we keep secrets. But then, as Buddha had said, truth cannot be hidden for long, and secrets, they never die. And so, once upon a time, Jay would never listen to her, and that was the biggest problem with him. Sunaina had urged him to get the refrigerator company to ship the refrigerator only after he got back from his 10-day business trip. But he had forgotten. Here was a refrigerator, and now she had to deal with the bills and the various documents. She hated dealing with paperwork. She sent Jay a message, "Thanks, but no thanks." Jay sent her 3 smileys back. There was a time when one smiley did the job. Then someone thought that one was not enough, and now it was a given that the more you love, the more kisses you sent. It was late on a Friday night. 2 days since Sunaina had the refrigerator up and running. Jay was only 4 days into the trip. It would be another week before he got back. Sunaina was fast asleep. She had left the windows open to let in the quiet breeze that blew the white chiffon drapes into the air, like they were dancing to a silent symphony. The door to her bedroom slowly creaked open, like it had a life of its own. Sunaina woke up with the sound of the doorknob hitting the wall. It must be the wind that must have opened the door, she thought. When she got out of bed to shut the door, she heard the breathing sound. It was a clear, undisguised breathing sound. Unmistakable. Yet, it did not seem human. It certainly wouldn't suit a burglar to break in and spend his time breathing hard. She decided to investigate. She turned the lights on in the house, but they flickered in an odd way and they blew out. She could swear that the breath was louder and almost like a sigh as the lights went off. The cell phone lay close to Sunaina. She grabbed the phone and put the torchlight application on. In the beam of the white light, she began to walk to the source of the sound. It seemed to be coming from the kitchen. Sunaina walked closer to the refrigerator and then turned the beam to shine on the refrigerator. It was definitely coming from inside the refrigerator. Up until that moment, Sunaina was confident that there was a logical explanation to the sound. But hearing it emerge from inside the fridge made her hair stand on end. The sound was clear, a raspy, throaty breathing. She waited for a moment, allowing her rational brain to take over and remind her that it was silly to think of goals in refrigerator. Sunaina slowly opened the refrigerator, but there was nothing there except for the supply for the next few days. The breath was even louder though. The deep freezer in the top section seemed to be where it was coming from. Sunaina braced herself, and with all the courage that she could summon, she pulled on the door, but it would not budge. It was iced in. She stared at it, heard the breathing sound as loud as a person sleeping next to her. The next day, she called in the technicians from the refrigerator company who identified the problem. The setting of the deep freezer was off, and the ice had jammed the compartment. The breathing sound came from the compressor. It was normal, they told her, nothing to worry. They were wrong. It happened again. The breathing sound was unmistakable, but she could hear that it was more feminine this time around, something that she hadn't noticed the previous time. It was back to the refrigerator, and like the night before, she did not find anything in the main storage area. The deep freezer was where it was coming from. She put her ear to the door of the deep freeze. The breathing sounded like a wheezing sound, like an asthmatic woman. Too human to be any compressor. Then a thought struck her. The lights. Why would they go off because of the compressor? Sunaina stepped back and yanked the door open. Inside, she found the severed head of a woman. It was turned the other way, making the long, blood-drenched hair the only identifiable feature. The blood from the raw, pulsating neck had drenched the ice to a deep red color. Sunaina screamed, slamming the door shut, and rushed out of the kitchen. She bolted her bedroom shut and picked up her cell phone and dialed the number of her best friend, Asha. Her hands were trembling, and it took minutes before Asha could get a coherent word out of Sunaina. The next day she called Jay and asked him to fly down immediately. She was scared out of her wits. Either he came down or she was walking out. Jay had to try hard to console her. Finally, Asha came to the rescue and promised Sunaina that she would stay there with her till Jay got back. All through the evening, Asha kept saying, "See, there's no breathing sound. You hear anything?" Sunaina felt like a fool, but had to agree with Asha. The severed head was not going to allow Asha to win, though. And later that night, the breathing sound came again. An added dimension was a whisper that accompanied the breathing. The head was saying something. Sunaina grabbed her digital camera. She was going to film this for everyone to see. They steeled themselves and went to the refrigerator. Asha stood a little behind Sunaina as she grabbed the deep freezer door and opened it. The head was there. But this time, it was facing her. Its eyes gouged out, filled with blood, but easy to recognize. It was Asha. Sunaina screamed and turned around to find Asha's body writhing on the floor, headless. The aorta pumping out blood from her neck to the beat of her heart. Petrified, Sunaina collapsed on the bloody floor, paralyzed. Asha's cell phone rang. It was in Asha's hand. She recognized the number. It was her mother's cell phone number. But she had been dead for 2 years. Sunaina answered the phone. The whisper sounded like her mother. It seemed to say, "Messages, messages," again and again. Sunaina looked through the messages on Asha's phone. Her eyes fell on a conversation between Asha and Jay. "Asha, your whiny wife is seeing her head in the refrigerator. Jai, ha ha, you know she has lost her head. Asha, how much more do we have to tolerate her? When do we get rid of her? Jai, when I get back, this time for good. Sunaina stopped crying. After which, she began to hope that she would see Jai's head in the freezer the following night.